Hey everyone, welcome to the build of my mobile workbench. This workbench was built around the dimensions that I had in my workshop and to the DeWalt 7492 table saw. In my build I went with a mix of materials and used 50mm square stock for the whole frame. I also used some 35mm square stock for the extension arms and some 20mm threaded rod for the feet, and for the top I used 21mm marine plywood. Here I'm welding the parts that will hold the casters. They were made from 10mm solid bar. I went with a mix of metal and wood because I want this thing rock solid. Since the basic frame was pretty much assembled, it was time to start building the foldable extension. For that, I also used 50mm square stock. So the frame is pretty much done. I just need to add the extension for the workbench. So I'll be welding these hinges here. This is what's gonna hold this extension. It's gonna be a foldable extension. So that's gonna be the next task. Okay, so now I'm in the process of adding the workbench extension. I have it laid flat so it's aligned with the workbench. I put some spacers over here. I have the hinges spot welded. I'm gonna see if everything folds correctly. Both hinges are spot welded. In case you're wondering, I have some wires there to space out the hinge from the stock metal so that it won't rub against the metal. Let's test this out. So that's exactly what I wanted. So I got the hinges welded in secure, as you can see right there. And basically this is how it's going to work, right? Well, the workbench right now is upside down, so you're going to have to imagine this down, and then you flip this up and it will lay flat with the workbench. Now I need to build some supports that are in a triangular form so that they can swivel out and hold the workbench extension in place when it's in use. So that's what I did next. I cut down the parts that I needed, and after I got all that done, I started to assemble the two support arms for that foldable extension. Here I'm putting those support arms in place. As you can see, I took my sweet time with this because I wanted a perfect fit. These will be the foldable legs. So these will have a nut that's going to be welded on the inside. Then I'm going to set it down here, and then we're going to have this threaded rod that's flush, because this is going to be the adjustable foot. I need to attach the legs onto the workbench with these hinges. You can see I have some welding wire in between the hinge and my stock, just so that there's some space in between, so the hinge won't rub on the metal when it's turning. Off camera, I managed to get the feet done. I have placed some casters here just to see if they clear the height of these feet, which they do, which is great. This is the idea. Okay, so when I do need to move the workbench, these will tilt down. Well, in this case they are tilting down, but technically the bench is upside down, so they'll be tilting up, and I can then move the workbench on the casters. When I have the workbench where I need it to be, then all I have to do is give it a little snug, and down come the feet, and all of the weight will be supported on these feet. Only because I don't think the workbench will be as sturdy when it's sitting on the casters as opposed to these solid feet. These are the extension arms. These are going to be holding the extension. Now I still have to dial those in, you know, just make them perfectly aligned, and that will be done when the workbench is on its right side up. You can adjust these and they have this nut. Depending on where the workbench will be put, you know, I can adjust these feet in height so that'll compensate for any uneven ground. These open areas, they are going to be filled in with plywood. Now, I don't want the plywood to sit on top of the metal. I want it to sit inside the metal. For that, I put together these scraps. These are exactly the width of the plywood I'm going to use. They will be put like this. And on top of that, I'm going to weld these bars. And this is where the plywood's going to be screwed onto. So this is the latch that's going to hold the feet so that they don't just flip over.
Well, that's pretty much it for the frame. Stay tuned for the next part of this build where I'll be adding some paint. Then I'll be preparing and placing all the plywood. And to finalize things, the DeWalt table saw will finally meet the workbench.
Perfect.